usually the leguminous plants exhibit bilateral symmetry, wherein you draw a line exactly at the center. One half of the flower will look exactly the mirror image of the other half. So when all the parts or all the whorls are arising from the base of the ovary, obviously the ovary will be at the top position. It is just like keep stacking books. The arrangement of entire flower on a floral axis is called as inflorescence. The right option here is C. Hello everyone, a warm welcome to this session on first PUC Biology. I am Dr. Divya, Biology faculty, Vidhyaashram Pre-University College, Temple of Excellence, Mysore. So in this session, let us learn about the topic inflorescence, that is the arrangement of the flowers on the floral axis, and we shall learn about the flower, that is the parts of the flower. So after that, we shall look into some of the MCQs under this particular topic. Let's learn about the inflorescence. So what is inflorescence? Inflorescence is nothing but the arrangement of flowers on the floral axis. Some of the flowers can be solitary or single. For example, hibiscus, wherein only one flower will be there on the floral axis. But there are certain flowers, for example, some of the seasonal Pinaceae members or the touch-me-not flower, wherein a group of flowers will be arranged on the floral axis, and that is nothing but called as inflorescence. And this type of arrangement of flowers is mainly of two types. One is racemose inflorescence and the other one is cymose inflorescence. So the main difference between racemose and cymose is that racemose inflorescence have an unlimited growth, whereas cymose inflorescence have a limited growth. So if you look at the floral axis, this is the main floral axis that is there. So it is the floral axis. And on the floral axis, laterally we can find the flower which are formed terminally. So they tend to form. And the floral axis continues like this. Here one flower will form, again it will continue, here two flowers, again it keeps on growing till the life cycle of the plant gets completed, and therefore it is an unlimited growth. And the racemose inflorescence, always the arrangement of flowers is an acropetal order. So what is acropetal order is that the older flowers will always be at the base and the younger flowers will be at the top or the tip of the floral axis. Why is that? Because first they'll form a floral axis, branching will occur which will form flowers, again the floral axis will extend, branches to form flowers, again floral axis extends, branches to form flowers, and it keeps on. So therefore first formed flower is always this one which will be present at the base of the floral axis, and it is called acropetal succession. Now moving on to cymose inflorescence. Cymose inflorescence has limited growth because the main axis, as you can see here, it first terminates in a flower, and this will be the oldest flower later on. And the young flowers will keep on developing. Next it will form one more flower which will be the next flowers, next again next flowers. So each floral axis that is formed will keep on terminating with the flower, and the floral axis will not extend further. Why? Because, or it will not grow further. Why? Because once the main floral axis, so this is the main floral axis, once the main floral axis forms, it terminates in a flower. So therefore this has unlimited growth, because all the flowers that are formed in the floral axis will be at the terminal end. And always this shows basipetal succession or arrangement of flowers, wherein the older flowers will always be at the top and the younger flowers will be at the bottom. So all these will be the older flowers, and as and when the flowers keep on forming at the bottom, they will be the younger flowers. So this is cymose inflorescence. So this was about racemose and cymose inflorescence. Next, moving to the flower. So we shall study the parts of a flower in general and see how the arrangement of these parts are. So the parts of a flower. So the flower mainly has a stalk or a pedicel. So this is the stalk of the flower, which is also called as the pedicel. Also called as the pedicel. Then after the pedicel comes the sepals. So sepals are small leaf-like structures. They are also green in color, and it is also called as the calyx. So sepals are also called as the calyx. Next to the sepal, so sepal is the outermost whorl. Next to the sepal is the petals, which are the brightly colored ones, petals that are also called as corolla. Next to the petals is the male reproductive organ, which is the andrecium, and it consists of the anther and the filament, which we'll study in detail in the next coming sessions. And the female reproductive structure, which consists of the gynecium, bearing the stigma, style and the ovary. Again, that also next coming sessions we will study in detail. So these are the different whorls or parts of a flower. So based on the arrangement of these whorls, the flowers are of different types, which we'll see later on. So in this, all the parts of the flower, if you can see, they arise from a bed-like structure or disc-like structure, which is called as thalamus, or it is also called as the receptacle. So all these, that is, be it the sepals, the petals, the andrecium and the gynecium, all are arranged on one base or on a stage, which is called as the thalamus or the receptacle. And in flowers, it has the accessory organs and the reproductive organs. Accessory organs. So what are accessory organs? Like we use some accessories to beautify ourselves, right? Be it the earrings, the chains, the rings or the purse, belts, whatever, or the shoes that you wear, all that are accessories to beautify yourself. Just like that, flowers have some accessory organs to beautify it so that it can attract the insect pollinators to promote pollination. So accessory organs are the calyx and the corolla, and the main reproductive organs are the andrecium, which is the male reproductive organ, and the gynecium, which is the female reproductive organ. And here you have to know one more term, which is called as the perianth. Now what is perianth? There are certain flowers wherein you cannot distinguish between the calyx and the corolla. That is, you cannot say which is exactly the sepal, which is exactly the petal, because both will be of the same color and it will look the same. So in such a condition, you call it as a perianth. You call it as the perianth of the flower, wherein you cannot say which is a calyx nor which is a corolla. So these are the parts of the flower. So based on the type of arrangement of these parts, we shall, or based on the sexuality of the flowers and all that, the flowers are of different types. So based on sexuality or based on reproductive organs, the flowers are of two types, that is bisexual and unisexual. Bisexual, bi means two. So in one flower only, both the male and the female reproductive organ, that is the gynecium, which is the female reproductive organ, and the andrecium, which is the male reproductive organ, will be present. Now, talking about unisexual flowers. Unisexual means uni, one, single. So either it will have only the female reproductive organ, this will not be there. So it will be a unisexual flower again, or either it will have only the male reproductive organ, this female reproductive organ will not be there. It will be again a unisexual flower. So this is about unisexual and bisexual flowers. Next, moving on to based on symmetry. So how you can divide the flowers into equal halves. It is of actinomorphic, which is also called, which is a type of radial symmetry, zygomorphic, which is bilateral symmetry, or asymmetry, which is irregular symmetry. Actinomorphic. Here, you can divide the flowers into equal halves when you draw a line from the center point. So say for example, here from the center, we draw a line like how you cut a cake. So exactly this half is similar to this is similar to this one to this. So each half is similar to one another. That is called as radial symmetry. So radial symmetry can be found in mustard flowers, in datura flowers and in chili flowers. It is like this. So we have a flower wherein from the center you draw lines. Each half will look exactly similar to the other half. That is called as radial symmetry. Next, talking about bilateral symmetry. Usually the leguminous plants exhibits bilateral symmetry wherein you draw a line exactly at the center. One half of the flower will look exactly the mirror image of the other half. Say for example, in pea, gulmohar, beans, cassia and all that, I draw a line exactly at the center. This half is the mirror image of this half, or the right half is the mirror image of the left half and the vice versa. So that is called as bilateral symmetry and it is zygomorphic condition. Next, talking about asymmetry, wherein they don't have a particular symmetry. However, you draw the lines into different planes, you cannot divide the flower into equal halves. The best example is canna. So, canna is the best example for asymmetrical flower. So, wherein the flower cannot be divided into two similar halves or neither radial halves. So, such flowers are asymmetric or irregular symmetry. So, this is called as symmetry, wherein we have actinomorphic, zygomorphic and asymmetrical. Next, talking about based on the floral appendages. How many floral appendages are present in the flower? How many whorls of corolla? How many whorls of stamens? Based on that, the flowers are of three types. Trimerous, wherein three whorls are present in the flower. Tetramerous, wherein four whorls will be present in the flower. Pentamerous, wherein five whorls will be present in the flower. So, this is about the based on floral appendages, the flowers are called as trimerous, tetramerous and pentamerous. Next is based on bracts. So, based on bracts, so what do we call a bract? Bract can be any reduced leaf-like structures that are present at the base of the sepals or at the base of the pedicel. So, here in the case of hibiscus, they are bracteate. Why? Because bract is present. They have bract. So, it is bracteate. And in the case of datura, here I have taken the example of datura, it is ebracteate because nowhere you can see reduced leaf-like structure. They have sepal. So, this is a sepal, but nowhere below the sepal or below, that is in this portion or below the pedicel, you can find the bracts or the bracteole that is there. So, therefore, it is ebracteate. The flowers are called ebracteate. Now, talking about based on the position of calyx, corolla and ovary, the flowers, especially the ovary, the flowers can be of three types, which is hypogynous, perigynous and epigynous flowers. So, those flowers having a superior ovary are called hypogynous flowers. Now, what is superior ovary? So, I told you all the whorls of the flower, they arise from the receptacle, right? Now, here, this is the sepal of the flower, this is the petal of the flower, this is the androecium and this one is the gynoecium wherein it will have the ovary. So, here the sepal arises from the base of the ovary if you see here, and the petal also arises from the base of the ovary. The anthers also arise from, or the stamens also arise from the base of the ovary. So, when all the parts or all the whorls are arising from the base of the ovary, obviously the ovary will be at the top position. It is just like keep stacking books. Like you have a book wherein, say for example, biology. Biology book is at the top and all the other subject books are at the bottom. Therefore, biology will be at the superior position because all the other books are at the bottom. It's the same concept here wherein all the whorls, that is the sepals, the petals and the stamens are at the bottom. They arise from the bottom of the ovary. So, therefore, the ovary will be at the top position, which is called a superior ovary. Next, talking about perigynous, half inferior ovary. Perigynous flowers will have half inferior ovary. Now, there are three different subject books at the top, three different subject books at the bottom. Below you have, in between those three books you have, or the six books you have, the biology book. Therefore, biology is half inferior. It is in between because top there are three other books, down there are three other books. The same concept holds here wherein you have the sepals which is arising. So, here it is in the center. This is the gynoecium or the ovary. Then comes the sepals, then the petals and the stamens, that is the androecium. So, here what happens, or I'll write it as A. So, here what happens, the sepals somewhere, the ovary is half buried in the thalamus or the receptacle. The sepal comes from the periphery of the ovary and also somewhere in between from the ovary, the petal also somewhere in between, the stamens also somewhere in between. Therefore, the ovary is half buried or it is half covered by the other three whorls. So, therefore, it is half inferior ovary. Next, talking about epigynous. Here it is inferior ovary. For example, you have your biology book which you keep it at the bottom and on top of it you keep all the other books. So, therefore, biology will be inferior here because it is covered by all the other books at the top of it. Same way here. What happens? This is the gynoecium or the ovary. Then comes the sepals, the petals and the androecium. Now, it is completely covered. From the top of the ovary, we have the sepals arising. From the top of the ovary, we have the petals arising. And from the top of the ovary, we have the anthers arising, which will completely bury the ovary. So, therefore, it will completely cover the ovary or the gynoecium. So, therefore, such a condition is called as epigynous flower and the ovary is inferior here. So, this is about hypogynous, perigynous and epigynous. Next, talking about based on the calyx, whether the calyx is fused or whether the calyx is free. So, based on that, if the sepals are fused or if the calyx is fused, we call it as gamosepalous. Hibiscus, if you can see here, the calyx is fused right from here. These are the different calyx that you can see here. Aren't they fused? They are fused. So, therefore, it is gamosepalous. In this particular case, rose, can you see here, it is completely free. They are not fused to one another. You can see the difference here itself. They are not fused to one another. Therefore, it is polysepalous, meaning the sepals are free. Next, talking about the petals. Based on the petals, the flowers can be called gamopetalous and polypetalous. Gamopetalous means petals are united. Here I have taken the example of Datura, wherein you can see the petals are united right from the base itself. From here itself it will start. It will unite and it will form a trumpet-like structure. So, it is petals are united, it is gamopetalous. Next here, the petals are entirely free. Here is one petal which is not connected to one another. Here is one petal which is not connected. Here, one more, not connected. It's not fused with each other. Therefore, the petals are free. It is polypetalous. Next, talking about based on the estivation. That is based on how the sepals and petals are arranged. So, the arrangement of sepals or petals in the flower whorls is called as, or in the flower bud especially, is called as estivation. Based on that, it is of 4 types: valvate estivation, imbricate estivation, twisted and vexillary or papillonaceous estivation. Let's study about this one by one. So, valvate estivation. Here the sepals or petals are not completely overlapping one another. They are just at the margin. If you can see here, this isn't overlapping with this. This not with this. This not with this, but they are arranged in a complete circular margin wherein they just touch, the tip of the petals just touch each other, but they don't, or the margin of the petals touch each other but they don't overlap. Such an estivation is called as valvate estivation and it is found in calotropous flowers. Next, we have imbricate estivation. In imbricate estivation, it is just like twisted estivation, but the only thing is the twisting of the margins of the petals or the sepals are not in an order. Say for example, it is neither in a clockwise order nor in a complete anti-clockwise order. Say for example, here if you can see, this is overlapping with this. This tip of the petal is overlapping with this tip of the petal with this with this and this one with this. Overlapping is there. But let's see how they are arranged, how the overlapping, is the overlapping in a completely in a clockwise direction or in an anti-clockwise direction, we shall see. Here this is overlapping with this is overlapping with this, but this petal is completely towards the inside. And if you can see, this petal that is there, it is completely towards the outside. So, one petal will be completely towards the inside, the one more petal will be completely towards the outside and the other petal's margin will be overlapping in one direction. So, that is called as imbricate estivation and the best example is cassia and gulmohar. So, next is twisted estivation. So, in twisted estivation, what happens? The margins of the petals are overlapping with one another. Because they are overlapping in one direction, it shows a twisted like arrangement. Here, this is overlapping with this one with that of this with this with this in one direction. See, clockwise here, 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 and then here, here also, here. It is in one direction only, but this was not like that. Was it in one direction? If this was here, this was here, this was here, this one was here, this one was here. But what had happened was one petal will be completely outside, one petal will be completely inside in the case of imbricate. So, this is about twisted estivation and the best examples are China rose, lady's finger and cotton. These flowers have twisted estivation. Next is vexillary or papillonaceous estivation. Here, the flower petals are arranged in such a way it looks like a lip or it looks like the wings of a butterfly. So that is why it is called as vexillary or papillon. Papillon means butterfly. So therefore, because it looks like the wings of the butterfly, it is also called as papillonaceous aestivation. So here, usually the flowers will have 5 petals, and all the leguminous plants that are there, the peas, beans, all that are there, they actually show vexillary or papillonaceous aestivation, wherein they'll have 5 petals, one large petal which is called as the standard petal. This is called as the standard petal, and they will have these 2 petals which are called as the wing petals, and these 2 petals which are called as the keel petals. Now the standard petals margin is overlapping with that of the wing petals. The wing petals margin is overlapping with that of the keel petals, and the keel petals are jointed, and therefore they have shown this symbol here to represent joining. It is joined, and such an arrangement is called as vexillary or papillonaceous aestivation. It looks like a butterfly wing, spread out butterfly wing, and also it looks like a lips. So that is why it is also called as vexillary or papillonaceous aestivation. So this was about aestivation. So now we know about the parts of the flower, and based on arrangement, how the flowers are called, all that we know. So we shall move on to studying about the MCQs. So the arrangement of flowers on the floral axis is called phyllotaxy. No, phyllotaxy is the arrangement of leaves. Venation is the arrangement of veins on the leaf. Inflorescence is actually the arrangement of flowers on the floral axis. Don't get confused with aestivation. Aestivation is the arrangement of sepals and petals in a flower. The arrangement of entire flower on a floral axis is called as inflorescence. The right option here is C, inflorescence. The main axis continues to grow in dash inflorescence. It is in racemose inflorescence because the main axis will not produce a flower. Therefore, it will continuously grow, producing flowers at the lateral ends. Dash is not a characteristic of cymose inflorescence. Acropetal succession, basipetal succession, limited growth, main axis terminates in a flower. What was the question? Dash is not a characteristic of cymose inflorescence. Acropetal succession is not a characteristic of cymose inflorescence because acropetal succession is seen in racemose flowers, wherein the older flowers will be at the bottom and the younger flowers will be at the top. These cymose, they exhibit basipetal succession, wherein the younger flowers will be at the bottom and the older flowers will be at the top. And they show limited growth because all the floral axis will terminate in a flower, and the main axis also terminates in a flower. So here the right answer here is option A, that is acropetal succession. Dash is the reproductive unit in angiosperms. I am talking about the reproductive unit. Leaves, stems, root, all the 3 are vegetative units. Flower is the reproductive unit because it contains the andrecium, the male reproductive organ, and the gynoecium, the female reproductive organ. Option C is the right answer here. The whorls of the flower are arranged on. Where are they arranged on? Don't get confused here. Calyx is a whorl, corolla is a whorl, and stalk is the pedicel of the flower which holds the flower, which connects the flower with that of the stem. The right answer here is thalamus, or they can also give the option as receptacle because both are one and the same. So it is the receptacle that is there, and on that receptacle all the whorls of the flowers are arranged. The term perianth means calyx and corolla are absent. Calyx and corolla are different. Calyx and corolla can't be differentiated. Calyx and corolla are present. The right answer here is, of course, calyx and corolla will be present, but that can't be the answer. Calyx and corolla are absent, that is not the answer. Calyx and corolla are different. In what ways? So that also can't be the answer, though it is right. So here the exact right answer here is calyx and corolla can't be differentiated. When you can't exactly tell which is a calyx and which is a corolla, then only in the flower you call it as a perianth. So option C is the right answer here. Next question. Bisexual flowers have both andrecium and gynoecium in same flower. Don't get confused here. Bisexual flowers. Both andrecium and gynoecium in same flower, andrecium and gynoecium in different flower, only andrecium and only gynoecium. Option B, C and D are found only in unisexual flowers. It is Option A is the right answer because bisexual flowers have both androecium and gynoecium in one flower only. Next question. Flower that exhibits radial symmetry are called radial symmetry. So are they called zygomorphic, actinomorphic, polymorphic or none of the above? It is actinomorphic. So radial symmetry is actinomorphic. Bilateral symmetry is zygomorphic. Actinomorphic and zygomorphic is bilateral symmetry. And there is nothing like polymorphism. It's there, the word is there, but it is not apt for this answer. Next, dash is an example for asymmetric flower. Asymmetric flower, the flower which has irregular symmetry. Or they can ask the question as dash is an example for irregular symmetry. Is it mustard, cassia, bean or canna? It is canna. So, bean exhibits bilateral symmetry. Cassia and mustard, they show radial symmetry. So, the right answer here is canna. Canna because it doesn't have a regular symmetry. Next, reduced leaves present at base of pedicel are called. At the base of the pedicel, the reduced leaves are usually called as bracts. So, the right answer here is bracts. Next, flowers having superior ovary are called. Flowers having superior ovary. Hypogynous. Hypogynous is the right answer. It's not hypergynous. Perigynous means flowers having semi-inferior ovary. Epigynous means they have completely inferior ovary or inferior ovary. The right option here is option A, hypogynous. Or the question can be asked like this with an example wherein cucumber flower have dash ovary. Hypogynous, hypergynous, perigynous, epigynous. Hypergynous is not there, so you have to choose between the three: hypogynous, perigynous and epigynous. So the right option here is epigynous because cucumber flowers have epigynous ovary wherein the ovary is completely inferior and on the top of the ovary the petals, the stamens and the calyx arises. So therefore epigynous ovary is seen in cucumber. So like this also, giving an example, they can ask the question. So this was about the session wherein we learned about the topic, the inflorescence and the flower, and got to know some of the MCQs that can be framed under this particular topic. So these are some of the MCQs that I have put. Like this only, they can twist the MCQs and ask as well. So you have to be thorough with that. So if you understand the concept well, whatever is the MCQ, it will be easy for you to answer. So I hope you understood this session well. We shall meet again in the coming session studying about the parts of the flower in detail and then some of the MCQs under it. So see you in the next session. Thank you.